If you are a man over the age of 60, what I'm about to share with you may be the difference between living your later years with comfort, confidence, and control, or spending those same years battling discomfort, sleepless nights, fear, and worsening prostate symptoms that slowly steal your peace. I'm Dr. Michael, and after more than 3 decades working with older men, I've learned something deeply unsettling. Most prostate problems do not suddenly appear. They build slowly, silently, almost invisibly, through habits and decisions so ordinary that most men never even question them. I have seen countless men walk into my clinic with worry etched into their faces, men who, only a few years earlier, felt strong, independent, and in command of their own bodies. Men who assumed that waking up several times at night, struggling with urinary flow, or feeling constant irritation was just normal aging. But I have also seen something else. Men in their 70s, 80s, even 90s, living with remarkable comfort and excellent prostate health, simply because they corrected the hidden habits weakening their bodies long before the symptoms became severe. Today, I want to guide you through those hidden habits, not in a list, not in a countdown, but in a flowing journey, an honest, unfiltered look at the daily patterns that slowly inflame, enlarge, and disrupt your prostate. And I want you to hear this truth clearly. It is never too late to regain control. The body is astonishingly resilient when given the proper care. And the prostate, though sensitive to inflammation and lifestyle choices, responds powerfully to the right changes. Let me begin with a story from my own clinic, one that deeply shaped the way I speak to older men about their health. The man who waited too long. A few years ago, a 68-year-old man named Harold came to see me. A former mechanic, tough as steel, proud, and stubbornly independent. He sat on the edge of my examination table, frustrated and confused, describing how he now woke up 4 to 5 times a night to urinate, how it felt like he could never fully empty his bladder, how he sometimes stood at the toilet for minutes, waiting for his stream to begin. But the most heartbreaking part wasn't the symptoms. It was the fear behind his eyes. He felt like he was losing control of his own body, as if age had suddenly ambushed him. But when I gently questioned him, it became clear that this wasn't sudden at all. The signs had been slowly appearing for years. The fatigue, the nighttime trips, the pressure, the weak stream. He simply ignored them, believing they were insignificant or embarrassing to talk about. As we reviewed his lifestyle, I discovered a pattern I've seen thousands of times. His daily routine, how much he sat, what he ate, what he avoided, how he handled stress, how often he held in urine, was quietly damaging his prostate. None of these habits seemed dangerous on their own, but together day after day, year after year, they created the perfect storm. Harold's story is not unusual, and if you are over 60, there is a very real chance that the same hidden patterns are affecting you as well. Not because you have done anything wrong, but because no one ever taught you how the prostate reacts to the choices you make every day. This script is not meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you. Let me take you deeper into the subtle forces that shape your prostate health. Forces that operate quietly in the background of your life. The silent pressure below the waist. Most men over 60 underestimate how much time they spend sitting. A morning coffee, breakfast, television, reading, long car rides, extended meals, relaxing in the evening. It all adds up. By the end of the day, many older men have spent 10 to 12 hours seated, often with poor posture, putting constant pressure on the pelvic region. Your prostate is located just beneath your bladder and directly above the pelvic floor muscles. When you sit for long periods, especially in a slouched position, two things happen simultaneously. Blood flow to the prostate reduces, and pressure on the surrounding tissues increases. The prostate is incredibly sensitive to circulation changes. Reduced blood supply means reduced oxygen and increased inflammation. Inflammation, in turn, triggers swelling. Swelling increases pressure on the bladder. Pressure disrupts your ability to empty fully. Incomplete emptying leads to further irritation and nighttime urgency. It is a domino effect. Many men assume their prostate is enlarging simply because of age, but age alone rarely causes severe symptoms. It's the combination of aging and restricted blood flow, aging and inflammation, aging and pelvic pressure. One of my patients described it perfectly when he said, "It feels like the area is always tight, always irritated, like it never gets a break." That tension comes from years of sitting without gentle movement to restore circulation. This is not something medication fixes. This is not something surgery corrects. This is something daily habits can reverse. Slowly, steadily, effectively. The bladder-prostate partnership. One of the greatest misunderstandings men have is believing their bladder and prostate are separate issues. They are not. They are partners, connected both physically and functionally. When one suffers, the other follows. The bladder is a muscular organ. It relies on consistent hydration to maintain normal function. But many older men purposely reduce water intake because they want to avoid nighttime urination. Ironically, this makes nighttime urination worse. Dehydration thickens and concentrates urine, turning it acidic. That acidity irritates the lining of the bladder, triggering urgency, spasms, and inflammation. And because the prostate sits beneath the bladder, anything that irritates the bladder irritates the prostate. Think of it like a chain reaction inside the body. The bladder becomes irritated. It squeezes more frequently. The prostate, which surrounds part of the urethra, receives pressure from that irritation. Inflammation increases. Swelling begins. Hormonal imbalances worsen. Nighttime urination intensifies. And with each night of poor sleep, stress hormones rise, which also inflame the prostate. Hydration is not about flushing the body. It's about keeping the bladder calm and the prostate soothed. It is a quiet form of protection, but perhaps the most powerful one. Men who hydrate correctly age gracefully. Men who avoid water often struggle for years. The foods that fuel inflammation. The prostate is a gland, and like all glands, it is highly sensitive to inflammation. When the body is inflamed, whether from stress, poor diet, or inactivity, the prostate becomes inflamed as well. One of the most significant sources of daily inflammation comes from what men eat without thinking. Heavily processed foods, deep-fried meals, chemical preservatives, sugary snacks, high-sodium dishes, and excessive red meat. These foods stimulate inflammatory markers in the bloodstream, disrupt hormonal balance, and increase oxidative stress, changes that directly affect the prostate over time. I remember working with a man named Robert, age 70. He didn't smoke, drank only occasionally, and walked daily. But he ate processed meat every morning and fried food several times a week. His prostate was constantly irritated. When he shifted to a diet heavy on vegetables, fish, fresh fruits, nuts, and whole grains, his symptoms eased dramatically. He did not take any new medication. He simply removed the foods fueling silent inflammation. The body responds to purity. The prostate responds to calm. What you eat becomes the foundation of your long-term health. The most damaging habit men ignore: holding in urine. This is a habit nearly every man denies doing, yet almost all older men are guilty of it. Delaying urination seems harmless. You might be watching television, waiting for a commercial break. You may be in the car, thinking you can make it home. You may be busy, distracted, or simply not wanting to get up again. But the bladder is not designed to be a storage tank. When you hold urine for extended periods, the bladder stretches, the muscles strain, and pressure builds downward, toward the prostate. Over the years, repeated stretching weakens the bladder's ability to contract fully. Weak contraction means incomplete emptying. Incomplete emptying leads to stagnant urine, which breeds bacteria and irritation. The prostate reacts immediately. Inflammation increases. Swelling increases. Urinary symptoms worsen. This is one habit that can transform prostate health almost instantly once corrected. Listening to the body's signals is not inconvenience, it is preservation. Smoke, toxins, and the aging prostate. One of the least discussed contributors to prostate irritation is smoke exposure. Not just from cigarettes, but from secondhand smoke, polluted environments, industrial fumes, and even household chemicals. The prostate is extremely vulnerable to oxidative stress. Tiny chemical reactions in the body caused by toxins. Smoking reduces blood flow, weakens cellular repair, and increases inflammation. Exposure over decades, even indirect exposure, leaves a lasting imprint on the prostate. Many men believe quitting smoking late in life does little, but the opposite is true. The prostate begins healing almost immediately. Circulation improves, repair mechanisms reawaken, swelling reduces. Even if you have never smoked, minimizing exposure to chemical fumes and pollutants is essential. Your prostate reacts to the environment far more than most men realize. The hidden consequences of avoiding medical care. Perhaps the most dangerous pattern I see among older men is avoidance. Men who avoid checkups, avoid discussing symptoms, avoid asking questions, avoid acknowledging discomfort. It is not denial, it is fear disguised as independence. But ignoring symptoms never protects you. It only gives them time to grow stronger. The prostate can signal problems long before serious damage occurs. But these signals are subtle. Light pressure, occasional urgency, faint burning, interrupted flow. Men often tell themselves it will pass, and sometimes it does, but more often the irritation returns stronger. Regular checkups are not about catching disease. They are about preventing it. Early inflammation can be reversed with lifestyle changes. Early enlargement can be slowed. Early discomfort can be eased. When caught early, the prostate responds beautifully. But when ignored, even mild symptoms can progress into infections, retention issues, or chronic swelling. The longer inflammation remains untreated, the harder it becomes to soothe. Taking control early is not weakness, it is wisdom. Hormones, weight, and the prostate's secret enemy. One of the most overlooked contributors to prostate changes is excess abdominal fat. Many older men assume belly weight is simply aesthetic, but it is far more dangerous than that belly fat is biologically active. It releases inflammatory chemicals, disrupts testosterone balance, and increases estrogen levels. This hormonal shift directly affects prostate size and sensitivity. The more abdominal fat a man carries, the more inflammation circulates throughout his body. The prostate, which is highly sensitive to hormonal changes, becomes irritated, swollen, and more prone to enlargement. Even small weight reduction, 5 or 6 pounds, can significantly ease prostate symptoms. Not because of appearance, but because of reduced inflammation and restored hormonal balance. The best part is that these changes do not require intense dieting or strenuous exercise. Small, consistent steps, gentle walking, mindful portion sizes, reduced sugars, lead to powerful improvements. The prostate's quiet saboteur. Chronic stress. If there is one force that damages the prostate more than any other, it is stress. Not the occasional stress every man experiences, but chronic, simmering tension that lasts for years. Men over 60 often carry burdens silently. Financial worries, health concerns, children and grandchildren, aging parents, unresolved regrets. These emotional loads weigh heavily on the body. Stress increases cortisol, tightens pelvic muscles, restricts blood flow, disrupts sleep, and weakens the immune system. All of these processes directly irritate the prostate. Many men who experience nighttime urgency are actually experiencing stress-triggered bladder spasms. Many who feel pelvic tightness are experiencing anxiety-induced muscle tension. Many who struggle with inflammation are experiencing immune dysfunction caused by long-term cortisol buildup. Managing stress is not about relaxing. It is about restoring balance to the systems that protect your prostate. Even a few minutes a day of quiet breathing, stretching, gentle walking, or sunlight can profoundly reduce inflammation. I have seen men with years of symptoms experience dramatic improvement simply by restoring calm to their nervous system. Stress is not just emotional, it is biological. Reclaiming control and healing your prostate naturally. Now that you understand the forces quietly shaping your prostate health, the question becomes, what do you do next? The answer is simpler than most men expect. Healing begins with awareness, recognizing the habits that work against you and replacing them with habits that nourish your body. You do not need perfection. You do not need to overhaul your entire life. You simply need to take steady steps. Drink water throughout the day to soothe your bladder. Move gently every hour to restore circulation. Eat foods that reduce inflammation rather than fuel it. Stop holding your urine. Reduce exposure to smoke and chemicals. Visit your doctor early, not late. Reduce the weight around your waist and protect your body from the silent damage of stress. When you begin to care for your prostate, not with fear but with understanding, your body responds. The swelling reduces. The urgency lightens. The irritation fades. The sleep returns. The confidence returns. You regain the life you thought you were losing. You are not alone in this journey, and it is never too late to begin healing. This is Dr. Michael, and I thank you for joining me today on Senior Health Care. Your health is your legacy, and your prostate deserves the same care you have given to everyone else throughout your life.